Hello, I'm Walter from IGM. When people visit Korea, they rave about the beautiful night view. But do you know why the view is so pretty? It's because of Korea's work through the night culture. Most lights inside office buildings are lit throughout the night, making the view that much nicer. According to statistics, Korean workers spend an average of 2.8 days out of the week working late. Ironically, despite sacrificing all that sleep and spending more time in the office, Korea's productivity ranks only 23rd among the 34 OECD nations. Let's find out why. First, working late and not getting enough sleep decreases employee focus at work. Professor David T. Wagner of Singapore Management University conducted an experiment on 96 university students. For the experiment, all of the students were fitted with sleep bracelets, which monitored how long and how deeply they slept. The next day, the students were put into a room and shown a video lecture on their computers. Wagner then took the sleep data and correlated it to the level of student focus. The results? The students who did not get enough sleep the previous night failed to concentrate on the video lecture, and they ended up being distracted and spent their time surfing the internet, reading up on gossip news, and visiting online shopping sites. As working late significantly diminishes sleep time, people tend to avoid doing work that requires concentration the next day. Without sufficient sleep, the mind gravitates towards tasks that require less thought. This shows that frequently working late and not getting enough sleep decreases work focus. And decreased work focus inevitably leads to less work getting done. This results in work piling up, which in turn leads to spending more time working late at the office. Naturally, in a cycle like this, productivity suffers. Working late creates a corporate culture that cannot concentrate on work. So, is there a relationship between working late and corporate culture? Absolutely. By working late and not getting enough sleep, people lose their sense of discipline. When a person does not get sufficient sleep, their decision-making ability is compromised, and they lose control of their emotions more easily. This can result in conflicts and arguments among employees, and even lead to cases of unethical behavior. Professor Christopher M. Barnes of Virginia Tech University conducted research into sleeping and work productivity. While observing the rotating work shifts of hospital nurses, Barnes noticed a huge difference between the nurses who got sufficient amounts of sleep to those who didn't. The nurses who did not get enough sleep tended to be rude to coworkers and were often less polite. Obviously, some of this can be attributed to work-related stress, but Barnes suggests something more. He explains the nurses' behavior as reactionary. Since work was depriving them of sleep, the nurses felt that they had the right to do as they please, and considered it to be a form of compensation. Eventually, the employees ended up disliking each other, making it even more difficult to concentrate at work, thus decreasing productivity even more. In another experiment that tested the relationship between sleep and moral ethics, people who lacked sufficient sleep resorted to cheating during games more than people who slept sufficiently. These examples prove that a lack of sleep can lead to a loss of self-control and decision-making ability. Now do you understand why companies that often work late are less productive? Of course, many small to mid-sized companies and venture companies will not be able to completely stop working late. If something urgent needs to be done, then working late may be the only solution. However, the practice of encouraging employees to stay in late, even when their work is completed, and creating an atmosphere where employees are self-conscious about not being able to leave the office because their leaders are still in the office needs to be addressed. There are several companies that have gone out of their way to get rid of their working late culture. One such example is the Industrial Bank of Korea, or IBK. In October of 2009, IBK started their PC off policy. Every day at 7 p.m., all the company's computers are automatically shut down. Employees who have no choice but to work late are required to receive authorization from their supervisors ahead of time. So what were the results of IBK's efforts? Surprisingly, work time focus and efficiency increased significantly during normal work hours. For instance, long, pointless meetings were no longer held, and instead, standing meetings, where only the most important information is shared, became the norm. There were even huge improvements regarding reports. Also, leaders who had normally pointed out minor details of little importance, such as font size and template styles, were now requesting easier and more applicable memo-like reports. These memo-like reports took less time to fill out, allowing employees to spend more time meeting and assisting customers. The SK Group in South Korea is another example. At precisely 6 p.m., an announcement over the company intercom states, "Let's change how we conduct meetings and enhance the work process to create an exciting work environment that doesn't require us to work extra hours." Then, at 7 p.m., all the lights and air conditioners are shut down. Thanks to these measures, SK's working late culture has greatly diminished. Even employees who had a casual approach to their work and had the "I'm going to be working late anyway" mindset increased their work focus and productivity. So, what do you think? Having your employees working late may not be such a good thing after all. If you want to increase the productivity of your organization, make changes to the work environment and get rid of the culture that encourages overtime work, and also the stigma involved in leaving the office at the designated time. Don't forget, it is the leader's responsibility to fully understand these problems and implement real change.